Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arafire and welcome back to another episode of All Talk, No Shock. So today I want to talk to you about perhaps a bit of a somber issue. Where does it end? With Transformer collecting.
All Talk, No Shock.
Now the first thing we have to consider is that Transformers has been existing in our lives for the last 40 years or so, and with that, Transformers fans have been fiercely loyal. They are not prepared to let their childhood hobbies, interests and fantasies die out, and have helped fund this fandom and help it grow to the point now that Hasbro, if you look on their websites, if you look at their publishing, Transformers is such a big deal. It's obviously a big money maker for them, and it's great that it's gone past 35, 40 years of this and it's still almost as relevant as it ever was. But how far can this continue? Will it carry on for another 20 years or so? Will Transformer collecting still be here in another 20, 30, 40 years time? Us as G1 collectors, if you like, are we still going to be collecting Transformers in 20, 30, 40 years time? Now this depends on what type of collector you are. So you get things like completionists, people who have their set agendas, who set out from a long way back and says, I want every season 1 bot, I want every season 2 bot, every season 3, every movie, every IDW, every Headmasters, all of the types, and they are not satisfied until they've got everything that they've wanted. Then you have other types of collectors, like myself, who just have kind of this ongoing collection and occasionally recycle them. My collection, I like to have the best version of the character that I like available. You're not going to have every character here in the Transformers universe because there's some I'm not really fussed about. But what happens in times gone by? What happens when a completionist gets everything? Do you just sit back and admire the collection that you've worked so long and put so much money into? Or do you say, well, that's me done now? And this where another topic comes into it. Is the chase better than the reward? Is it better to have the long journey than to reach the end point? But what happens then? Now, collections of any type are meant to be admired. Really, once someone has finished collecting and acquiring everything that they wanted, they're to sit back and be admired. And that can still happen. But what happens in 20, 30, 40 years time when Transformers almost stop being made potentially and they start to become antiques and relics of the past? What happens then? You're not going to be able to add to your collection. Do you really take what you have and just enjoy it all the more because they are not being added to? It's very hard to put a pin in this as when do you stop. And this isn't to say that Transformers is going to stop, but we don't really know what the franchise is going to look like in 10 years time or 20 years time. I'm certainly going to be a lot older then. I don't know if I am going to be collecting at that point, but what I will say is that as the franchise has developed in more recent years, with say IDW for example, the comics kind of bred another section of life into Transformers, and now we have IDW figures that you can buy and add to your collection. I've got an IDW shelf. So it's not to say this collection can't be expanded over time. It's not that it's pinned back to 1984 and you've got to collect everything from that era. The development within the franchise is still happening, and therefore people's collecting can still develop also. And then of course there's passing it on to the next generation. I think it's really heartwarming to see you get a lot of people now collecting as a family. You get, fathers, sons, daughters, anyone who are collecting, and then they're also collecting with their children. They have their own collections, or they inherit some of their collection or play with some of their toys from their parents, which in turn could lead to future collecting. So it kind of becomes a bit of a pass on. In that case, it doesn't end. It doesn't stop. It is inherited. It is passed on through a lineage. I think that is really impressive. Something that we have grown up and we have taken with us from our childhood, passing on to the next generation's childhood, keeping the franchise alive from one generation into another. But the bottom line is that we're here for the ride, we're not here for the destination. It is fun to be in it and to add to your collection as you're going and admiring your collection throughout. That's why I don't consider myself a completionist. I like looking at the collection as it grows, and growing is very much a part of it. Your taste will alter as you collect. Mine certainly have. So it doesn't necessarily have to end. For some people it might. For some people they might get to a point where they say, do you know what, I've had my fill. I've got everything that I wanted to collect and I don't need any more. But for some people, for myself and for hopefully most of us, this won't be for all of us, and this won't be for a long time to come. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what your collecting habits are. Do you intend to still collect in 20, 30, 40 years' time? Have you got out of the game already and you are now admiring it from afar? How do you see the Transformers fandom continuing for the next few years? How do you see collection habits changing, if at all? Leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think. But thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you on the next one.